Good afternoon. It is a very warm afternoon. It's early afternoon, and I have decided that I need to get on and put the concrete back in where I put the pipes and wires through between the house and the shed. Originally I was going to leave this as is, because eventually I need to do something with this path, because it's not compliant, but that's likely to be some time away, as in at least a year or so. So I have decided that in the interim I will put some concrete back in here and just tidy this all up. So here we go. Because of the trickiness of this end needing to seal this gutter off, go over this pipe and around this pipe, I've decided that a bit of CAD would be the best answer. So I have my bit of cardboard for my cardboard aided design, and I have a knife and a pair of scissors. We'll see how we go here. That looks like it'll work. So now I'll go and find a suitable bit of chipboard or something to, probably not chipboard, but something I can easily cut and put it in there. I decided I'm probably going to get a neater job if I actually drill these holes. This one I'll need to use a circle cutter because I do not have a hole saw that size, and that one should be reasonably straightforward. I'm not going to use the drill press for this top one. The reason is that whilst my drill press does have different speeds as opposed to variable speed, I really want to take that quite slowly, so I may actually just use my Makita battery drill that runs at a slower speed than the DeWalt, or my elderly Bosch, which is an electric drill, but it's variable speed as well. We'll see how we go with all of this. I know what size that pipe is that's down in there. It's a 90mm stormwater, and I have a 90mm 45 degree here. So if I cut that hole to go out here on this dimension, that'll give me some clearance and hopefully make it. It'll still be tight enough to keep concrete in, but I'm going to need some tolerance around that. Due to the uncertainties around the circle cutter, I've changed my mind, and so I have put the drill on the slowest speed possible. So the drive motor is on the small pulley, going to the large intermediary, back to the smallest to the largest final drive. So I'll make sure I've got it well clamped down and we'll see what happens. And there we go. So just to give you a close-up here, what happens is this cutter cuts on the inside of the cut, and this cutter cuts on the outside of the cut. That's why it was cutting a nice wide cut, if you like, as it went through. Hopefully it's in the right place. The reason I was being more cautious with that than what I normally would was because it is right on the edge, and the risk of it grabbing and not being a good outcome were reasonable. So now I will just cut that out and see if it fits. Even if I say so myself, it was a pretty good fit. The only thing I will need to do is plug up this hole here. I'll have a bit of a think about that. A little bit of an explanation here. So I have cut this piece to go in behind here, like so, because when this goes back in, it needs to come right up to there. And so if I didn't fill this in with wood, then that would get filled with concrete and then this wouldn't fit. And I have just put another bit of wood in behind down there to hold that. It won't matter that that keys into that a bit like that. It'll be fine. Oh, I just need to do the other side and then I can start mixing some concrete. The consistency of this first barrow load of concrete was exactly as I wanted them all to be. Sadly, for various reasons, they didn't come out that way. I'll come back to that later, and a suggestion as to how to achieve better consistency, which I didn't follow. I realise this is a classic case of do as I say, not as I did. I used a small trowel to go down between the existing concrete and the new to try to release any air in the concrete down there, and so get better adhesion between the old and the new. You may remember from the previous video that I had a piece of the belt material used to protect the underground cable that was left over from that part of the project. Between these two mixes, I put that against the house so that there is a gap between the concrete and the house cladding. It just helps protect the outside cladding of the house and stops the concrete adhering to that cladding. A couple of sheets of the cladding on this corner of the house were replaced a couple of years ago because when the path moved away from the house as a result of the tree root, it actually broke the cladding at about 150 millimeters from the bottom of the sheet. I was concerned at the time that water may be getting in behind the cladding. Hence, my desire to stop the potential for that to happen again and the installation of the gap. I'll leave that as is for now and come back to it once I've done the other one. So here's what we have. That bit's done. I will leave the trowel here because once this dries out a bit I'll come back and trowel it off and do the edge. But now I shall carry on and go and do over the other side behind the shed. This is just to show the Tillerson working upside down. Got the jobby holding it in the tree, Tillerson hung from there, and then the GoPro underneath that again. Let's see if it works. The Tillerson worked exactly as it is supposed to in tracking movement. Unfortunately, with me off in the background mixing concrete, it decided that the movement of the leaves in the tree is what it should track. Once I came close again, it tracked me fine. As you can see, this barrow of concrete was a particularly sloppy mix. What happened was that I was using a hose to put the water into the barrow and the end came off. As I was scrambling around picking that up from the ground and pulling it apart and putting it back on the hose, I continued to have the hose pointed into the barrow. Not a good plan. As a consequence, I ended up with far more water in the barrow than I should have. I added more builder's mix and cement, but there comes a point where you can't add anything more to the barrow and still be able to mix it. In this particular instance, to help remedy some of the issue, I spread this mix over a wider area and then put the next drier mix over the top of it. So now I'll tell you what I should have done. When you are mixing concrete, either in a mixer or in a barrow, it is always better to have a drum of some sort, and that is where you draw your water from, with a receptacle of a known volume, i.e. don't use a hose to put water straight into the mix. That way you can measure how much water you are putting into the mix reasonably accurately. This is important as too much water causes a sloppy mix and weakens the concrete, because the water will often drain away and take some of the cement with it. A drier mix would have made this job a lot easier, as the surface of this bit of concrete is on a slope. Stiffer concrete stays where it is put, sloppy concrete doesn't. The other thing to be aware of is if you are keeping a pile of builder's mix for any period of time, always cover it. If you don't, the fines, i.e. the sand and small stones, will get washed away over time by the rain, and that doesn't make for good concrete. Fortunately, this concrete is in the shade, and so, particularly seeing I chose the hottest day since last February to do it, I'm slightly short of concrete, which is a bit of a pain, but I will whip down to the nearby merchant and just grab some bagged concrete, because I really need only a little bit. As you can see, from there to there, less than a barrel load, unfortunately. Well, in one sense, unfortunately. But I shall go and grab that and mix it up, and this won't really have gone off by then, so we'll be all good. See you soon. And when you turn your back, this happens. We can fix that, but even if they come back and do it again, I won't be that upset. Yes, this is a special little tool, trowel, for giving a round edge on your concrete. So it is, as you can tell, it's a very overcast day, very humid and quite warm. But that's actually okay for drying concrete, and so the concrete has dried enough for me to take the boxing off and to put the grate in which fits spot on, so that's great. And then this side I will come back and take this stuff away because Kathy's not going to want that in the garden, and put some topsoil in here. And you can see there's that nice rounded edge, and if I just quickly rub that off, there we go. And if we come up the other side here, it's quite windy as well, but that's okay. So I have cleaned most of the concrete off the timber on the side here, because that real sloppy mix made a bit of a mess, but that's all done. The boxing's gone. Again, I need to put a bit of topsoil in there from the pile down there, so I will do that. And so now we move on to the stand for the barrel, and that's what we're about to launch into now. I have worked out how I need to fix those 3 boards together, so I'll do that. I will then take that up and set it in place, make sure it's level, and figure out the fixings that I need to the retaining boards that are already there. So here we go.